Well, hello, and welcome to the Learn Podcast Production Podcast. You know, it's strange to hear, I'm sure for everybody, this is a podcast where we learn podcast production. Yeah, I know. Hopefully the title gives it away. Sorry for the sarcasm. I'm just being ridiculous. I just want to point out that that's what this is for. So if you are in a podcasting role, if you are producing your own podcast, i.e. fiddling with stuff on the computer, or you're the guy who is doing that as a full-time job or part-time job or something of that sort, or you want to do that for a living or something along those lines, then you're in the right place. This is where we're going to teach you how to do podcast production. And right after I say this is what we're going to do, I'm actually talking today not as much about podcast production, but we're talking with the second part of a interview with Mathiew, although he is producing he's doing a business of podcast production and audio work in general as a musician. And he and I brainstormed, and this is simply a live brainstorm between him and I. And you get to hear his ideas on what he's doing in his business, which are very unique. He's in France. And so you'll hear how he's using that position to his advantage. And sometimes it can be hard for him. You'll hear about that. The interesting thing is, well, I don't know. It's just interesting how he's doing it and how he's thinking about life and thinking about how to build his business online, 100% online. So it was fun for me to listen to his brilliant mind on this. And then we kind of collaborated, and I have some thoughts in there. And so I'm sure you're going to have lots of thoughts. And if you do, you should reach out to Mathiew and give him some ideas. What he can do with this. But my main point in that is just saying that this is a podcast about podcast production and the twiddling of knobs, but it's also about the business side. And so this is a conversation about the business side, and that's just to prep you for what's coming up here, because it's good. But just sit through that. There's going to be some stuff that we just have to wade through as we're getting to some of the good stuff. So. He and I talk about how to funnel clients from social media and get them in. We talk about creative ways to drive traffic as a musician. He has some fun thoughts on that. Alternative ways to make money online. Sometimes when you're making one business work, it's nice to have something separate that they help each other grow. And a money source here helps a money source grow over there as you invest in it initially. We're not to promote your services. We're not to promote your services, and how to connect with high performers. So we talk a lot about quite a few other things in there, but those are some highlights from it. I just want to say thank you to Mathiew for his vulnerability and willingness to be on this. He's a great guy. And I really appreciate this. So Mathiew, I'm sure you're listening, and so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So without further delay, let's go on to the interview with Mathiew. So you want to grow, and you want to either monetize what you're already doing, or it sounds like the one thing to start talking about is how to monetize what you're already doing. Mm-hmm. You've got 17,000 people out. How do you get them into actual customers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So the first question is, are you building an email list from the YouTube subscribers? Do you have them on a list?
Am I building an email list thanks to YouTube? Are you asking?
Correct. That's just your biggest audience. So are you? From what I hear, it's your biggest audience. So are you able to get them on an email list?
Oh, that might sound silly, but I was just thinking so far about making an email list on my website, so that people would go to my website and then sign up there to my newsletter, my email list, because I would have redirected them from my YouTube channel.
So that's the right way to do it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I know I'm actually wanting to. I signed up for a course to do blogging, so I could like have tips to make people go to my email list, because making your viewers into clients is the way to go to build your business. So
Mm.
so far I'm still building as well my email lists.
Uh-huh. You're very busy. That's what it sounds
Yeah.
like. Hmm. Okay. That's great. That and so that means you're doing the right thing. So and you're already thinking in the right direction, because you want to get your YouTube subscribers
Hmm.
or viewers. Your biggest thing is to drive them to something that you can grab them at, right?
Yeah.
And email's the best one. So the class will help. And obviously, the best way is to, and I'm not, and this is, we're not on my specialty here. There are a lot of people who are better at this, but giving a call to action, and especially if you're able to give away for an email list, a newsletter is great. But I'm wondering if you can develop something that is right what your viewers are needing, that you can give away for free in exchange for an email address.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way to go. So I'm thinking about some PDF files or MP3 I could record to give away for free, of course, because people won't just sign up like without anything in return. So you have to track them in a way. And yeah, so I think one way to go about this is to in some way make some sort of announcement and get to know what your viewers are looking for in general in my field, so in music or audio production, and then get that idea and offer it for free on my website, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect. Mhm. Yep, you want to find out what they're looking for. Asking them is great. You can also look at which videos are doing the best and try to find. I'm not telling you anything new. You know all this, but also for our listeners. So you want to look at what's doing best, and then try to find something around that. Do you know which videos do the best, or what ones are most popular with people?
In the cover walls, what's most popular is the videos from songs that have just been released, right? So if a single comes out, released, let's say a few months ago, well, last year in around November, the new Metallica record came out, and obviously, when you just play a cover from the new album, then it gets views. So one way to get more views is to release a video review or video cover of something big that has just come out. So using some popular icons to get attraction.
Yeah. Okay. So those have done very well for you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and sorry, as well, I attended. No, I did a few contests, guitar contests, and those have had more views as well, because I get exposure, because some bigger channels make contests to give away some content, and so I partake, and those have gotten as well more views than my usual videos.
Okay. Yeah. No, that is also a great way to do that. So, so in the meantime, I mean, as we talk, I'm learning you're doing things the right way. You're building things, you're building them slowly, but of course you're going as fast as possible. You're driving, you have goals. You're trying to drive people to your website, to an email list. You're thinking about giving away things for free, which can attract them. Once you have their email addresses, you'll be able to offer products. That's the right thing to do. Things I wish I had done a lot more of. So in the meantime, do you have a side job? Are you just financially like are you trying to find money right now for business, or are you able to be patient and wait for this thing to grow?
So I understand that while I'm going, I have to get the money in because you never know. I mean, I'm hopeful and know that the business is going to turn out well in the future, but the question is when. So I understand that I have to earn money in some ways because that's more secure, right? So you mentioned at the beginning of the well, I told the listener that I'm from France, right? So I actually offer French lessons as well online to foreigners willing to learn the language on platforms. And yeah, that's most of what I do. But I also I do remote jobs. I take opportunities and work for clients online. That's called working remotely. And yeah, I'm open to any kind of services actually, be it related to audio, languages, and whatnot. I mean, I'm open to anything because I don't want to reject any opportunities, right?
Yeah, that's fascinating. So you're teaching language, you're teaching French,
Mhm.
and are you just on like are those other websites that, like I don't know, teachingfrench.com or something like that? Uh, how, how are you reaching those people?
Well, it's fairly simple actually because those are some platforms online with a lot of teachers actually, and so I'm not sure exactly how the students get to the website, but they do, and there are a lot of them. So it's very easy to get clients. All you have to do is just make a profile and introduce yourself out there, and people will come to you if they like your personality. So that's how it works.
And you've done, it sounds like you've also done some of that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you've done some of that similar strategy with audio as well, correct? Like on websites that provide audio services, and you've signed up and made a profile.
Yeah, I have tried in the past. I was on Odesk and Fiverr and freelancers.com or something like this, I think. But I'm not sure it's the best way to go. I've tried, I signed up, I created accounts there, but I mean, I think the people who wants to, I mean, people who need sorry, let me rephrase this. So I'm on this website and I'm willing to offer services, but I think I'm going to be paid very cheaply. So I don't think it's the best way to go because there will always be cheaper. So if I want to be chosen, let's say, I'm just going to have quite a low salary. So I'm not sure it's worth the effort on those platforms in my experience.
Okay, so you feel like you can get paid well enough when you're teaching French on a similar kind of site, but when it comes to a service like audio, people just aren't paying on
Yeah,
those kinds of
exactly.
sites.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at least in my experience.
Well, that's what I've seen as well. So I agree with you. Those are, yeah, not my favorite, but for some it sounds like they've worked out pretty well. Okay, well, I can be honest right now. My thought is you're doing well, and you're doing all the right things. The only thing I could think, if you're interested, is you could start thinking outside the. Well, there are probably some more things you could do on the online side of things, but the offline side is something that I don't hear you talking a lot about.
Yeah. You're right, and as I said earlier, I made most profit in terms of guitar teaching offline. But I think building a business offline could be, I mean, it's great. Obviously, it's one way to go about it. But I think when you do it online, you would be able to do what's called a passive income. So you work hard to build the content like videos, podcasts. When you once your business has grown, you're able to put meaningful hours of work, but maybe work more in a more clever way. Because if you're working offline, then you will work all days, from early morning till late in the night. And I think in the long term that can lead to burning out. So I would like to go the online way, because the hardest part is to get started. But once you have the clients, once you know where to go, I think it gets a bit easier, and you can then do more things once one thing has once one thing is working, then you can do other things at the same time and not get too much into a routine, and still be excited about doing things, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I totally understand. So, okay. So we won't talk about offline. Okay. So, one other thing that I haven't heard you talk about with online is, and you kind of talked about it maybe with the guitar contest, but I haven't heard you talk about connecting with influencers. So, are you able to connect with people who are pretty high profile, or do you even have a reason to, as in your own podcast or even on the video blog, where you're finding ways to help promote an influencer or do something for them in return for having them as guests, or just reaching out to them, or some strategy to connect with them?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to go about it. Sorry. And I think, again, in my experience, that most people in the music business that are big are somewhat maybe unreachable, because you would write to them, but they get so many emails that they won't reach out to you, because they just don't have the time. And I got to reach a couple people, I think, that are not so big but still have a lot of audience. And yeah, as you mentioned, I offered to work for one of them, which is an entrepreneur. And he told me that he would contact me when he has more, when he needs help, actually, because I had asked him if he needs any help for his business, and he said that so far he's okay, he's in okay, but he told me that he will contact me whenever he needs something, especially since he knows I mean, I've been following him for years now, so he knows I'm somebody whom he can trust. And I also have a project with another YouTuber who I plan to make a collaboration with him, actually, and get views from there.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's perfect. It sounds like I'm sure he will reach out at some point back to you.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. So one thing I'm thinking is, I wonder if we could change up the way you reach out to, when you're reaching out to people. Obviously, we can tell you have a great heart. You're trying to help people. You're a good guy. And I'm sure that definitely shines through.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, at least in my experience, I found that when you say, "Can I help you? Do you need anything done?" once in a while that works, but most of the time, that's people have a hard time thinking about, just in general, can I help you? Or even just, can I help you with something audio? Can I help you grow your business? That can be difficult for people to I don't know. They just, that rarely gets, in my experience, that rarely gets reactions from people. Although sounds like you've done pretty well. Okay, so what if one of my thought is what if you begin not saying can I help you, but what if you think of a strategy, and probably towards these medium level people with larger audiences, that'll be more fruitful. Something that's gonna be very hard for them to say no to. So and there's 1,000 ways to do it, but an offer for them that's like, why would I not have this guy do this thing? So your collaboration is a great idea. It needs to be something that's very low risk on their side, low risk for them, low time for them, but gives them something in return and is specific. So not a general, they need to figure out what it would be, but you tell them what the offer is, and they just, it's just the best business propositions are, you can't lose if you do this, right?
Yeah.
So with your giftings, I think that would be a place to start, and we could brainstorm that a little bit more if you wanted to, on how to build those. Do you have any thoughts on that idea?
On offering specific services to people who have larger audiences, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. I would love some help. Yeah. I mean, I know that's from what you say, I understand it's a great way to go, but things are actually a bit not as clear as they should be in my head. So I'm not exactly sure where to head then, and what to do for these people.
I was just talking with a friend yesterday about some other business idea, and I said, I can think of them for other people, but when it comes to my own business, I'm out of ideas. Yeah. So he said, yeah, that's how we all are. He's a business guy, and he's like, yeah, I can't think of, we think of ideas for ourselves, but that outside perspective is always nice. Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so much for helping me, for giving me suggestions. As you mentioned, it's always great to hear from other people's perspective, and so I just love what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Well, Well, thank you for talking. This is fun. I love doing it. Okay. So if you're going to reach out to somebody, what I'm hearing from you is that one of the biggest things that you need right now is an audience, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's the key.
More eyes on you. So because you're trying to build passive income over the long term.
Yeah.
And it doesn't sound like you're immediately desperate for money, which is a fantastic place to be. You've done well. So because you've done that, you have the time, and hopefully I'm right. It sounds like you have the patience to be able to, instead of gaining money right now, you're able to put that off for later and work on gaining an audience first.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go, and in the long term, it would turn out to be better this way, I think.
Okay, so when you're reaching out to influencers, what do you think you can offer them in return, not for money, but for audience or views? Or one guy I knew, he did really well building his podcast, not by, it was a little different. He sold sponsorship on his podcast, advertisements in return, not for money, but for views on their email list. So, they would put an advertisement on their email list. So he got greater subscriptions. He grew the podcast by jumping on people's email lists. So with that in mind, what do you think you could offer someone? He offered advertisements. What do you think you could offer somebody in return for something like that, for eyes on your blog,
Yeah,
their audience?
I think I could offer help for even for the most simpler things like just editing the videos, editing the audio, because it does take a lot of time, and I've experienced and I do it all myself. But if they could like delegate the work so that somebody else, and so me, would do the editing, the video editing or the mixing, because it's very time consuming, then I think that would be a great way to go if they're willing to do some kind of exchange and advertise, as you're saying.
Yep, that's a great idea. Who was I talking? Somebody else was saying that they did that, a very similar thing to grow their podcast company. They gave away their service in return for simply advertisements.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what you need in the first place. Again, with the cave, you need to be seen before anything else.
Yes. Okay. So so you could give away video or audio editing, audio production. That's perfect. A service that they definitely need.
Uh-huh.
Do you have, if you did that, do you have one or two people or even 10 people, 20 people that you have in mind or could find that you could reach out to?
Yeah, definitely. I could think of maybe I would say good 5 people to start with, who might have been following for a long time now, and they are regularly uploading content. So yeah, there are a few I can think of so far.
Okay. All right. So that sounds like a win. I'm going to say
good
that.
start.
That would be a good start. That's going to build your audience. It would be nice to have a couple more strategies to help build your audience. But I would say that's probably one of the biggest ways is to do that. So now with your video blog, are you reaching out with your YouTube videos? Are you reaching out to anybody, or are you having them on your videos? Or you have 17,000 people. Are you leveraging that to help other people with their videos?
Okay, Toby. I feel quite, because I think you misunderstood the numbers earlier. That was not 17,000s, but 1700s, which is quite a different number. So
It's true.
I think it's not the same levels of audience, right?
I swear you said 17,000. I'm excited about it. So
no, otherwise I would be
good.
definitely more like crazy about it. That's why I'm just talking so much about the cave, because it needs lightning, because I don't have as many, unfortunately, so far.
Well, 1,700 is still really good. And like everybody says, if you imagined yourself in a room with 1,700 people, that would be a big audience, right?
That would be too much, actually.
That's still great. And that's still something you can use. Yeah.
Excuse me before I interrupt you. I think it's better to have fewer numbers, but numbers you can trust, rather than huge numbers which don't mean anything special.
Definitely. So it's still the same question, and you're right about that. Better to have a few really good people than a whole bunch of whoever. Are you? It's a YouTube channel that's getting views and is growing. So are you using that to interview other people or connect with other people who also are growing audiences?
It's true. I haven't thought about that earlier, because in what I'm thinking, like the guitar world on YouTube, It's more. Yeah, I would say it's more in the English speaking world, so to speak. I don't think there are as many YouTubers in the French guitar world. So in that sense, I fear a bit the fact that I am not native and that successful people from America, Australia, or wherever would rather do interviews with native people, maybe. So I kind of like some confidence here because through emails or through written responses, I would have more confidence maybe rather than doing videos in a language I'm not native.
Like you have to do right now.
Yeah.
You're brave. Yeah, I understand that. So you're saying you don't feel like in France there is a very good community. Like you're one of the only ones who's building a music video platform.
Not the only one, but yeah, I think there are much fewer people, and even in entrepreneurship in general in France, it's not as much common as in the United States, for example.
Okay. Well, still, I'm sure there's some French people, although you know that market much better than I do.
Yeah. Thank you so much for suggesting that idea, which somehow never occurred to me. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the best ways is connect with somebody. You can interview them, you can promote them, you can just find ways to be generous with what you have.
Yeah.
If you got 1,700 people, who can you connect with? And it's going to help your audience too, right? So expose them to people. There's always the fear that they're going to, jump over to somebody else's platform and you'll lose them, but that rarely happens. And like you said, if they're good, they're going to stick around anyways. So the more you connect with others, if you promote them and they cross promote you back, then that's a very good way of growing. And same with your blog.
Yeah.
We've done any guest posting, and again in blogging, you're not speaking, so you can reach the U.S. market or other countries. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for how could I say it? That's an idea which I guess was deep, but never reached the surface. But it's quite obvious what you're saying. But it's so great that you reminded to me. So thank you. It's definitely one other way to go about it.
Yeah, those are two really good ways of growing. Of growing your audience. The general rule is, and this is how. I mean, when I got started, it wasn't with blogging because I'm terrible at that, but it was. In fact, I wish I had done a lot that you're doing right now. But when I got started, it was because, and this isn't everything I've done probably, but it was because I reached out to one guy. And he started connecting me, and then he connected me to another person, and that person connected me to another person, and it was just all about people. And it started with, and I reached out to him at first because I offered him something for free. I just was going to help. It was just generosity. So yeah.
Yeah, and then it leads to many other opportunities. The best, the hardest thing is the first step, but then it has some kind of domino effect, right?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Okay, so you're doing YouTube and you're blogging, correct? Are those the two that you want to stick with? Do you? And I'm sorry, I don't know. Do you have a podcast, or is there any other methods that you're trying to reach?
I don't have a podcast yet. I would like to focus first on my blog and on my videos, which are already enough work for me because I
Mm-hmm.
work alone. So those are the media I'm going to stick with first, and then maybe in the future do some podcasting, which could be great because it's also a great way. But that would be too much work. So I think it's better first to focus on fewer things and do them well rather than get too all over the place and lose some time and energy, I think.
I agree with that. Yep. Okay. And my last idea before we go, you talked about local, where you talked about not wanting to go offline very much. However, we have talked about doing, audio or video editing for service as a service. I'm just wondering. I mean, I find it. I've had a lot of good success just reaching out to local studio owners, or even if you don't do work with them, they as well have their own audiences and people that they're connected with.
Yeah.
And so getting involved in local business groups, getting involved in, because I mean, if you local business groups, you may be able to teach local businesses how to do what you're doing because you're doing well at it, right? Because they don't know how to blog probably, or what the value of that is, or so you could teach marketing locally. You also have the advantage of, like you said, music. And with the audio, I mean, this is a lot of skills you have. So you're able to reach out to schools, schools for teaching music, local music stores for teaching music. And you may have already done this, as well, local recording studios. And then again, anything business. I mean, you could probably pretty quickly make a few bucks if you wanted to, and it may be a distraction. So that's okay if it's not where you want to go, because like you said, it's not passive income in general. So be careful with what you do. But
it's a way to get exposure, as you're saying, which is great because you teach some businesses, some schools, and in return you also get exposure. So I mean, it takes some time and an effort, but in the end it also helps the business, so it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a handful of my ideas there, but I think you're doing very well. And I feel like if you just kept plodding along as you are, you're doing the right things. So you'll get there. Be patient, and you're doing good. So, but that's it. I mean, do you have any other? If somebody wanted to reach out to you, and because I mean, again, you're being very successful at this. You've got the right methods. If you wanted to talk to somebody about this, or someone wanted to talk to you about this, how would you? How are they able to get in contact with you? Would you be interested in that?
Yeah, thank you. I would definitely be interested in that. So it's fairly easy. Either I can be reached via my YouTube channel, which is simply MattyPS, MattyPS, or via my website. And I have an email related to my website, which is simply my name. I'm just probably going to type it out because it's a French address. It's Mathiew at leguitariste-autodidacte.fr, which means the self-taught guitarist. So it's a fairly simple address, but its name is in French. So that's it.
Very, very cool. Send me that and I'll put it on the show notes. And
Perfect.
Great. Okay. And anything else from you before we sign off?
Yeah. I just want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak with you today. I'm just really grateful and excited, and I just really appreciated how you've reached out to me. So I'm just very grateful. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It has also been an honor and really fun. And I learned plenty of things. It's fun to hear from someone who's doing this right. So so that's encouraging. So Mathiew, thank you so much. Thanks again, and we'll hopefully talk soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Toby.
Man, wasn't that insightful and engaging? I sure thought it was. Well, thank you again, Mathiew. And for those who are interested in something like this, I do offer this as a service, not only business brainstorming, but consulting. So if you have any interest in consulting or coaching or whatever you want to call this stuff, please let me know. You can email me, Toby at 24sound.com, or just go to the website. It's all one word, all spelled out, 24sound online. And I would love to just work with you, help you out wherever we can. I just want to see you succeed in what you're doing. So thank you for your support of my show. And I want to help you and support you in what you're doing and as you grow your business. Other than that, we've got some other great interviews lined up with you. Georg from Auphonic is up next week, and I don't think you want to miss that one. That's from an engineer who coded the software of Auphonic, and so you get to hear what man. Just don't miss it. Don't miss it. That's all I got to say about that. Otherwise, thank you for listening. Please do some ratings and reviews on iTunes. I always appreciate those. Otherwise, go out and make the world sound great.